So, Mark Zuckerberg recently appeared in a California state courtroom, and people noticed something very unusual. Members of his entourage were wearing Meta Ray-Ban smart glasses. Now, at first glance, that may not sound like a big deal. I got a pair of glasses. You probably have a pair of glasses. You're probably saying they're just glasses. But the thing is, they are not just glasses. The Meta Ray-Bans can record video. They can capture audio. And depending on how they're configured, they can instantly share what the wearer sees. And this is where the legal problem begins. This matters because courtrooms don't just allow anyone to record court proceedings. In California, cameras can sometimes be allowed, but only with a judge's permission and under strict supervision. And that's because trials depend on controlled information. Because witnesses need protection, jurors need privacy, and proceedings need a certain level of integrity. So when recording technology shows up disguised as everyday fashion, the rules start to get a little blurry. So judicial officers, aka judges, have broad discretion to control what happens inside of their courtroom. And in this case, Judge Carolyn Kuhl had no choice but to step in. She essentially ordered anyone wearing AI-enabled glasses to immediately remove them and warned them that any attempt to record proceedings could lead to a contempt of court. And she also made something very, very clear, that any use of facial recognition technology to identify jurors was strictly prohibited. And that moment tells us something very important because the judge wasn't creating a brand new rule. Recording and surveillance concerns were already restricted. So essentially what she had to decide was whether something that looks harmless still functions as a camera or as a surveillance tool. Because for decades, courtroom camera enforcement relied on visibility. You could see the camera. You knew who was recording. You knew when the recording was taking place, and the court could control it. But now, wearable technology breaks that assumption completely. Because now the recording device doesn't sit on a tripod. It sits on someone's face. And this is where the law gets very interesting for me because courts are now being forced to answer a new question. Are judges regulating behavior or regulating technological capability? So in other words, is someone violating courtroom rules only when they actually record? Or is the risk created the moment a device capable of secret recording or even identification enters the room? Smart glasses effectively turn every person into a potential camera operator. And unlike approved media cameras, which require permission, fixed placement, and court supervision, wearable devices move freely and subtly. And the law wasn't written for that. The law was written for obvious surveillance. And we're now living inside invisible surveillance. And part of me looks at this moment and wonders whether it was entirely accidental. Because think about it. The headlines wrote themselves. Meta glasses inside the courtroom. What? Powerful marketing. And companies like Meta understand the legal risk extremely well. They are not stupid. They have teams of lawyers. They know what contempt of court means. So even if no recording actually occurred, the optics matter, and they know it. Because after this happens, suddenly the product isn't just a gadget. It's positioned as something bold enough to enter into one of society's most controlled spaces. The courtroom now becomes part of the product story. And whether intentional or not, that's incredible publicity. But there's a bigger tech policy issue here, and this goes way beyond Meta. Technology is shrinking surveillance into ordinary objects such as glasses, doorbells, watches, and cars. Institutions such as courts, schools, and workplaces were built assuming technology would be visible and easy to regulate. But now, visual recording capabilities hide inside normal life. And when enforcement depends on what we can actually see, invisible technology creates legal uncertainty. And this is how technology outpaces governance. And not because the companies are necessarily rebelling, but because the companies are making it normal. So the real story isn't just that smart glasses entered into a courtroom. It's that the law is being forced to confront a world where recording power and even identification technology can exist without anyone noticing. Judges are no longer just regulating actions, they're being asked to regulate possibilities. Because when cameras become invisible, the rules built around visibility stop working. So essentially, technology is once again moving forward, and the law is still trying to catch up. The story of American tech policy. Well, that's the end of this video. If you enjoy conversations about how technology, law, and power all intersect, make sure you subscribe and join the discussion below. So I have a question for you. Do you think Zuckerberg's team wearing meta glasses into court was intentional or just a misunderstanding? And as always, technology may have been miseducated, but you do not have to be. I'll see you next time in the next video. Bye.